Subject pronouns are our very first grammar point. So, what is a subject pronoun? We have these in English as well. It's technically defined as any pronoun which can be the subject of a sentence, which seems fairly logical given the name. A subject pronoun is a pronoun that's a subject. But what does that actually mean? The subject of a sentence is, of course, the thing that the sentence is about. It's the person completing the action. So if we say Bob is learning French, Bob is very good at it, the subject of our sentence is Bob, because Bob is the person that we're talking about who is doing the learning of the French and who is being very good at it. A pronoun is a word which replaces a noun. If it is a subject pronoun, then it's a pronoun which replaces a subject, because a subject has to be a noun. This is typically used to avoid repetition. So for example, Bob is learning French, Bob is very good at it. If we don't want to have to say Bob so many times, we're going to get rid of the second Bob, and we're going to replace it with a pronoun, he. He is a replacement for the noun Bob. We're still referring to the same person, but now he has a brand new word, he, that refers back to him. This is what makes he a pronoun. Since he is also the subject of a sentence, it is a subject pronoun. There are 9 subject pronouns in French, a few more than we use in English. These are I, you, he, she, one, we, you. Remember, we have 2 yous as we've already seen. And then we're also going to split out the theys. There are 2 different ways to say they. So starting with I, how did we say I in French? This is je. Je. We've already seen this in je m'appelle. I. Je. Our first you is going to be both singular and informal. So we've talked about this in terms of formal versus informal. So what was our informal you? Our informal you was tu. Tu. Please note that tu is both informal and singular. You will only use tu when you're speaking informally, which you already know, but you will also only use it when you are only talking to one person. It cannot be used if you are talking informally to multiple people. That's our second version of you. How about he? How did we say he? The correct answer is il. Il, like comment il s'appelle? Il. What about she? She was elle. Remember we had comment il s'appelle became comment elle s'appelle. He and she. Il and elle. Our last one in this column is one. This used to exist in English. It still technically does, but it used to be much more common. When we want to say one in French, we're going to say on. On. Yes, it is a nasal. On. This has several different meanings in modern English. So it can mean people in general. Okay? And this is the slightly older, very much more formal English version of one. Okay? So if I say, one should do their homework, I really mean people in general should do their homework. Okay? It used to be very common in English to use the word one in this way. Not so much in English anymore, but it is still used in French. So when I talk about people in general, I can use on. In modern English, we tend to say you. You should do your homework. But I don't mean specifically just you, I still mean all people. Okay, so whenever you want to say like an everybody, everywhere type of thing, we want to use on. This can also be used as a slang version to mean we. So if you don't remember our other subject pronoun for we, but you want to say something like, we are doing our homework, and you're talking about a very specific group of you, you can also use on to mean we in that case. The actual word for we, however, is nous. Nous. Our second version of you, hopefully you've already figured out what it is vous. Vous is both formal or plural. So we've seen it before in the formal sense, whenever you're speaking to someone older than you to whom you need to show respect and to whom you aren't particularly close. But we are also going to use vous every single time you are talking to more than one person at a time. So, for example, if I'm talking to the entire class at once, even though I can speak informally to you individually, talking to the entire class at once, I still have to use vous because there's more than one of you in class. So tu is both informal and singular. Both of those things need to be met. Vous is formal or plural. Either one of those two things makes me use vous. Finally, I have my theys. I'm going to split up my theys based on gender. So if I'm talking about a group of guys, I'm going to use ils. Notice that there's no pronunciation difference between a singular he and a group of guys, they. Il and il. The only time that this is going to be hearable in the difference is if we're followed by a vowel, so that we form the liaison. Otherwise, you have to figure out which one is meant based on other things, such as the verb construction that is used, or out of the context. If I'm talking about a group of girls, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add an S to the she, elle. Note that a mixed group, so a group that has both guys and girls in it, will always use il, regardless of how many guys or girls there may be. You can have 1,000 girls and one guy, and you're still going to be forced to use the word il. But once that guy leaves to go home, my 1,000 girls can use elle. At this point, what you're going to be expected to know is you're going to be expected to not only know these translations, but also to define which one is being used in a sentence. So, say that we're on the test and I give you this sentence. Nous avons des livres de français 1. We have French 1 books. Nous avons des livres de français 1. So, if we look at this sentence, what is our subject pronoun? The subject pronoun is nous. Nous avons. It's typically going to be one of the first, if not the actual first, word in a sentence. You'll also be expected to know that we, or that nous means we.